Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. Today, we have my friend Laurel on, and I just want to give a quick little disclaimer that we're taking a little bit different side topic on brain wellness today. So if you are one of those people that listens with your kids in the car, or I've already warned my children, there's an episode that they probably shouldn't listen to right now. This episode is going to have a little bit more of an adult focused conversation. So again, ear pods in or listen with the kids in a different room for this episode, but we're going to have a lot of fun. I met Laurel online a while back and finally got to meet her in person recently, but I feel like I've known her forever because she's got one of those energies that's just really contagious. So it's going to be a really fun episode. So to start off here then. So Laurel lives here in Coon Rapids, Minnesota, and is married with 5 children ranging in ages from 10 to 22. Laurel got started as a pure romance consultant 13 years ago while working full-time in a retail management job. After a year of doing pure romance, she knew that she had found her niche and quit her job in retail to be a full-time sexual health educator. She's currently serving her 11th year on the board of directors for the company. And Laurel throws in-home parties to educate and empower women and leads a team of 64 awesome women. An amazing thing. She's a big believer in creating a sex positive world and loves teaching people about sexual health and wellness. So welcome, Laurel, to the show.
Hello, hello.
Awesome. So I always like to start off with my first question, just kind of ask, what's your story? I always ask about brain wellness, but why does sexual health interest you? Where did you get started in it?
So I took a class in high school. I can't remember if it was psychology or sociology. I ended up taking both, but I don't remember which was first. And I kind of knew that the people route was my route. Like I was going to go into a job related to people. It was going to happen for sure. I'm a talker, so that helps. I'm pretty extroverted, so that helps. I did speech in high school, so obviously I was comfortable talking in front of people.
Mhm.
Even though you still get nervous, it was still comfortable once you get in your groove, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I took that class. I knew that was it. After I graduated, I got married, had a baby, started the family nice and early, and I started becoming interested in sexual health. I don't know if I watched something or read something, and I was like, I'm going to be a sex therapist someday. That's it. That's what I'm doing. It's definitely going to happen. But I said, once all my kids go to school, once everyone's in school, then I'll go to school.
Mhm.
It's like 12 years of schooling to get a PhD to be a sex therapist. So in the meantime, I listened to things, I watched things. There was a show on TV called Talk Sex with Sue, a really old lady in her 80s that I loved on Sunday nights, just loved it. I think it was on like Oxygen Network or something. So I would listen to that all the time or I'd read things. It was just a really fascinating subject to me. So I knew that was kind of down the line. 13 years ago, I had 4 or 5 kids already, hadn't had a 5th one yet. And I went to a pure romance party. So at the time, I ran movie stores. One of the other managers had a pure romance party. I was like, oh, I'll go. I'd love to go. I'd always wanted to go to one. Went, saw this lady talking. I'm like, she's a mom of 4. I'm a mom of 4. She's getting paid to talk about sex and sexual health. That's awesome. That's my job. Like, that's
Mhm.
the thing. So I kind of accidentally stumbled into it, not on purposely, because
Yeah.
eventually I was going to go further into the subject, but not
Right.
until all my kids were older. So I started as a consultant. The same day I switched jobs. So my last retail job was I ran a Best Buy. And I did both for a year and realized that I loved the parties. I loved talking about sex. I loved talking about sexual health. I loved helping women. I love just creating a whole sex positive atmosphere
Mhm.
because the atmosphere out there isn't very positive, especially for women. So being
Right.
able to educate about sexual health and meet so many women who probably won't go into a sex therapist in their entire life, but they're kind of getting a mini sex therapy session when they come to a party. It's
Mhm.
kind of the perfect balance of the two. So here I am 13 years later. This is my 11th year on our board of directors. So obviously I'm at the top of the company, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I just don't see myself doing anything else. Like, this is the thing. This is it. You find your spot. And people tell me that when they are at my parties, at my shows, like, you're so great at this. You just know when it's your thing. You find
Yeah.
it and you settle into it. And then the more you do it, the more and more comfortable you get with it.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. So my thing is brain wellness. So in your opinion, how does sexual health affect our brain health? How are those two things related?
So they're very tied together, even though people don't think about it too much.
Mhm.
People are thinking sleep, people are thinking exercise, people are thinking all sorts of things, healthy diet. I think when people think about their overall health, they're
Mhm.
not factoring in the sexual health part of it,
Mhm.
but it actually is a huge part of it. If you talk to OBGYNs over the age of 50, they actually recommend that every woman over the age of 50 gets a vibrator and uses it 3 times a week inside their body to keep their vaginal muscles alive. As crazy as that sounds. So there's a real part behind it to your physical body, but as well as your mental health, your emotional health. It helps with pain management. It helps with your emotions. It can help with your mood. It can help you fall asleep better. It can help you stay asleep longer.
Mhm.
It can help with headaches because of pain management, help with migraines, help with concentration, can help with your focus. There's just an endless amount of reasons why sexual health is tied to your mental health. If you have an orgasm, it releases oxytocin into your brain, it releases endorphins, it releases adrenaline. All of these things help your overall mental health.
Mhm.
So it's very much tied in. Whether you have a partner or don't have a partner, your hand reaches down there for a reason. Like, it's biology. There's
Right.
for men and for women, there's a
Right.
reason why we can reach down there. It's full of nerve endings, and all the things it does to your body, all that stuff it releases into your body when you have an orgasm, definitely affects your overall mental health. For people having trouble falling asleep at night, have an orgasm. You'll fall right asleep. Like, boom, there's your solution right there. If you have a lot of stress, if you have a lot of anxiety, orgasms can help with stress and anxiety. There's just an endless list of things that sex, sexual intimacy, orgasms can all help you with. And you certainly don't need to have a partner to have an orgasm. So whether you have one or not, you can use this as a way to help your overall mental health, your overall physical health. Everything in your body ties together so easily. Your
Mhm.
mental health, your physical health, your sexual health, it's all tied together. Your gut health, everything is rolled into one. So
Mhm.
sometimes the component people are missing is the sexual health. I mean, an orgasm is an amazing stress reliever. So if you're stressed out, you
Absolutely.
probably don't need a Valium. You need to go have an orgasm. It's a different thing. You're taking the wrong thing. So they're
Right.
very tied together. I think sexual health is a major component of it. And if
Yeah.
you do some research on it and look into it a little more, you'll see how tied it all is.
Mhm. Mhm. 100% agree on that as well. I don't know how many times I've had, even when I was working in clinic and I had patients come in following a stroke and they were having difficulties because of positioning. I would actually have conversations with them about sexual positioning that they could do because that is still such an important part of their relationship. And again, from the brain aspect, people would get caught up on their spouse was now their caregiver and they had a hard time with that intimacy. And that
Yes.
would have a major impact on their mental wellness as well. So I absolutely agree on that. Side note question. So what do you think about all those people that use the excuse that they have a headache, that they don't want to have sex? How can you
Oh
kind of
yeah,
combat
and
that
it's the
one?
exact opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what you want is, if you have a headache, you want to have an orgasm so it can help get rid of the headache you already have. So one of my favorite things I've seen, maybe it's a meme, maybe it's TikTok, I can't remember. A guy walks up to his wife and it's the middle of the day and he goes, "Do you have a headache?" And she goes, "No, why?" He goes, "Perfect. I'll see you later tonight in the bedroom." Like, he's circumventing the headache excuse, right? And obviously, sometimes for women, they're purely not in the mood, which is
Right.
understandable.
Yep.
So they're using the headache thing as the excuse. But if you ever have someone say you have a headache, be like, "Oh, fantastic, let's have sex." That orgasm will release those
Yeah.
pain relief endorphins into your body, and that's going to help get rid of your headache. So it actually is a very helpful tool to get rid of headaches and to get rid of migraines. Obviously, being in the mood is important to
Right.
get to that point. So if you're still not in the mood,
Fair
then you're
point.
gonna have to be like, "Oh no, it's not only the headache, sir. Like,
Right.
I'm mad about something else." You gotta say that. Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point. Very good. So kind of as I was saying at the beginning, that this can sometimes be a conversation that probably isn't great around children to this aspect of it. But what about it? Just it's an uncomfortable topic for people to address sometimes. What are some simple steps you can give to some of our listeners to get more comfortable talking about this, or even thinking about different ways to treat their mood with sex?
That makes sense. Yeah, sex and sexual health can be an awkward conversation for a lot of people. I was raised where we didn't talk about it at all. We pretended sex didn't exist. We pretended puberty didn't exist. Like, you just weren't going to get a period and you weren't going to have to shave your leg. We pretended that wasn't a thing. So
Mhm.
for me, I think part of my fascination with the subject is not being taught about it at all.
Mhm.
You want to normalize things that are normal. And
Mhm.
masturbation is normal, and sex is normal,
Mhm.
and being in the mood is normal. Like,
Mhm.
all these things are normal things. Also, being not in the mood,
Mhm.
that's normal too. That's a normal conversation to have. I think it starts with what you're talking to your kids about, obviously, creating that atmosphere for them. It doesn't have to be shameful, even though for a lot of people we grow up thinking sex is a shameful thing. It's
Mhm.
normal, it's healthy, it's a perfectly standard, normal part of life.
Mhm.
You have to retrain your brain to realize that masturbation is normal and healthy, and that sex is normal and healthy. Everyone is having sex. I should say most people are having sex or
Yeah.
masturbating. That's a good chunk of the world right there.
Right.
So obviously it's healthy and normal. We're all doing it. You just have to make it less weird. With your kids, something that I learned because I have 5 of them, if you make it's normal their whole life, then it becomes normal. It doesn't have to be gross and weird. You just talk about the things when they come up. So
Mhm.
even though it might feel a little awkward, if you have a teenage son, if you have a son in grade school,
Mhm.
things start to happen to boy bodies. And even though it's an awkward conversation, you got to hit it head on. You got to be like,
Mhm.
hey, this is normal. This is healthy. That's an activity for your bedroom, not for anywhere else. We're going to keep it in your bedroom, not in the living room, not at school. There's just places we don't do that. So if you need to have your hand on your pants, you're going to take it in the other room. But you
Uh-huh.
have to have normal, healthy conversations. Pay attention
Right.
to your kids. And when they start dating, well, before they start dating, but definitely when they start dating, talk about normal, healthy things with them. The average age for boys to start masturbating is age 6. 6. That is so early. Like, I was not
Wow.
prepared for
No.
my conversation, even though I teach what I teach with my son. I have 1 son and 4 daughters. And average age for girls is 13. So it's very different ranges. But if you just make it completely normal,
Mhm.
this is normal, this is healthy, it's for everybody, it happens, that's what it is. We're going to keep that in our bedroom. You can talk about sexual health without talking about sex.
Mhm.
So talking about pubic hair and talking about making sure you're staying clean, making sure if you have a UTI, talk about how you get a UTI with your daughter, sometimes your son, but mostly females get a lot more UTIs.
Mhm.
Have the normal open conversation about it. Even if it feels awkward to you as a parent, that's okay. It can be awkward and you can still have the conversation. So 2 of my kids have grown up and moved out. We still have 3 at home.
Mhm.
Having those conversations, it's still weird because
Mhm.
in my head they're 2, not 22. Like, that's not how
Right.
old my kid is, right? But I have to, if I don't talk about it, where is she going to get her information? If
Right.
I don't make it normal, then it feels weird and shameful. So realizing that your body is normal and natural, that everything is tied in together, that touching yourself, it's okay, even if it might feel awkward, even if it might seem like somewhere or something has told you that it's a bad thing or shameful thing, retrain your brain to know that it's normal and it's healthy and everyone is doing it. And you're research it, look into it, read more about it, whatever you need to do to feel more comfortable with it. There's a
Mhm.
great book, I think it's by Logan Lovecoff, called Third Base Ain't What It Used to Be. And it's all
Mhm.
about talking to your kids about sex.
Oh,
And I'm like,
interesting.
that's a good start. She came to spoke to her company years ago, and her normalizing the conversation with your kids
Mhm.
about sex and sexual health made me feel more comfortable having those conversations with my kids. Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna
Right.
happen. So if we
Right.
talk about it, then it doesn't feel weird when someone gets their period. It
Right.
doesn't feel weird when someone starts dating because it's gonna happen. You can talk about safe sex. You can talk about your menstruation cycle. You can talk about boy situations, all the things normal and comfortable. A great conversation starter to a kids is, hey, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, or hey, I need to have a high courage conversation because this is kind of awkward.
I like that
My
one.
intention
Yeah.
is not to make you feel weird. It's just so that we're normalizing normal things. I don't want you
Yeah.
to feel uncomfortable when something comes up, or if you need to talk to me or ask questions, please do. But there's a lot of work still to do, but it's come a
Mhm.
super long way in the last couple decades about normalizing sex, normalizing sexual health, and your podcast tying in mental health to sexual health. I really do think people forget how closely knit they are.
Mhm.
Like, in a relationship, if you are having sex regularly with your partner, little things you can let go. You're like, oh, there's socks next to the laundry basket. That's annoying. If you're not having sex with your partner regularly, you're like, what the hell? Put your socks in the laundry basket, right? So your
Right.
frustration level with your partner goes higher when you're having less sexual intimacy. But if you're having sex, it's like your reset button every time you're having sex. So that's a
That's a good
good,
point.
healthy way to reconnect with your partner, having sexual activity. And it doesn't always have to be an orgasm. It can be sexual intimacy without an orgasm. It can be sexual intimacy without penetration. So there's just so much to it.
That's a fascinating thought that you just need. It's a good way to connect as a relationship to not have any distance between you, literally and figuratively. But just keeping that. There's so much regarding mental health and wellness with how strong or weak your relationship is, and that's a huge component like I mentioned, talking with my patients before too, and people don't often think about that. It's just, oh, it's just another thing that we do, but it is very important in relationships.
It's a big
Um,
deal. It's a
yeah,
big connector. Yep.
yep. I also grew up in a household where we didn't talk about that kind of stuff growing up, and so when my oldest child was getting ready to start about talking about sex ed in health class growing up, I thought, you know what, I want to have this conversation first, so that he knows that if he has any questions in class, he can come back and ask me questions. And
Yes.
I'm a boy mom, so three boys. I don't have the body parts to in order to answer some of those questions. I got the bonus
Yep.
daughter now, and that's a whole different aspect in the household. But we've, like you said too, we just kind of make things normal. And being a health professional, I just took it as a health professional conversation and talked about all the things that I learned in class from the boy's body. Because again, no experience here, but it made it a much easier conversation than trying to make it super personal right away. I
Mhm.
think he appreciated it, and
Yep.
it kept the doors open for conversation moving forward, which I was really appreciative of. And I've just taken that same aspect with my kids too. So we probably talk about more bodily functions in our house than most people do. But
I
again,
mean, with boys,
normal
yeah.
things are normal. So yeah,
Yeah. With boys in the house, your conversations about all sorts of weird body stuff comes up a lot more than with girls, I'm gonna be honest. And I say that in
absolutely.
general, but I had 4 girls and then a boy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely different conversations. They're definitely proud of their body parts in different ways than your girls are. It's just very
Yep.
interesting, fun
Oh, heck yeah.
conversation, that's for sure. Another great tip,
Absolutely.
talk to your kids when you're in the car if you need to
Yeah,
talk about sensitive subjects, because then they can't run away.
that's
So
true
no
too.
offense, but if we're in the car and I've got the older kids in the car or we need to go somewhere, you're driving, they can't leave the room. They
They're
got to
kind
have
of
the
captive.
conversation.
Yep.
Even if it's awkward, I promise you they'll appreciate it later. Like, it means a lot to talk about it up front so they don't know what happens when it already happens. You
Yep.
need to talk about it before it's happening so that when it does, anything happens, puberty, body, sex, anything, it feels normal because it's
Yeah,
normal. It's
it
just
is.
normal.
It absolutely is. Very good. So question for you. Again, kind of thinking back to my patients that had strokes and had differences in their functionality afterwards. Um, I know this is kind of off the cuff, but could you kind of talk a little bit about how to remain intimate even when you can't physically do the act of sex?
Yes. So you got to get creative. A
Mhm.
1000% you got to get creative. Whether it's a physical disability or it could be a pregnancy, there are things that are going to change the way you can be physically intimate with your partner.
Mhm.
When people think about sex, they're often only thinking about penetration, they're
Mhm.
thinking about orgasm. Sexual intimacy is all of it. It's holding hands, it's cuddling, it's a massage, it's there's so much more to your entire sexual relationship than just having an orgasm. That doesn't have to be the end goal. Sometimes with health issues, people can't reach orgasm. That's just the way that it is. It becomes more challenging for them. Sometimes with age, it becomes a challenge as well. You have to get creative on what you're doing. And if you need help, ask for help. Again, even if it's awkward, if you are a man and you are taking blood pressure medication, it can affect your erection and it can affect your ejaculation. But men often don't want to ask, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. You have to say something. If you want to fix the problem, you have to address the problem. So you need to find a doctor that you trust. You need to have an open conversation with them. If a woman is feeling like she doesn't have any vaginal lubrication, if she's feeling like she's never in the mood, if you take birth control, it affects your libido in a major way. But women aren't making that connection a lot of times. They're like, oh, I'm just never in the mood. Well, it matches up with when she started a new birth control. So there are solutions and things that you can adapt to make your sexual health more of a priority. You just have to open your mouth and start that conversation. Sometimes it's just 5 seconds of courage to say
Mhm.
something uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Just get it out. Just start the conversation and be like, okay, so this is really uncomfortable for me, but I feel like I'm the Sahara Desert down there. I need help. Like, ask your OBGYN. There are solutions to a lot of the issues that people have.
Yeah.
When it comes to medical stuff for people, just physically snuggling and holding hands or heavy petting, it doesn't have to be intercourse to be sexual intimacy. So people have to remember you can adapt in all sorts of different ways. Obviously, there's accessories you can use to help as well. So partners, if they can't help their partner reach orgasm, introducing accessories into the bedroom can help reach that level, especially when it comes to things like physical disabilities where they're not going to be able to provide that to their partner. They can watch, they can be present, they can be snuggling. You can be part of the process, even if you have some assistance. So don't be afraid to ask the questions and try new things. Spice it up, try the new things. Why not? My best advice if you want to introduce something new in the bedroom is to say, hey, I just went to this party. I just listened to this podcast. I just read this article, or I had a sexy dream where ... So you're taking it out of your suggestions and pretending like it was someone else's, even if it wasn't you guys. So if you're like, I want to introduce a toy into the bedroom, or I want to get more massages, you could say, hey, I was reading this article and they said that massages relieve endorphins and endorphins make you happy. So if we like had a massage day each week and we each gave each other a massage every Sunday, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you don't need an hour-long massage, 5 or 10 minutes. It literally boosts your mood because it's releasing those endorphins and that oxytocin into your body. So be open to trying new things. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, do it in a more creative way. Hey, I was just listening to Mandy's podcast and I heard that if you do this, then we might get this. So if you steal it from somewhere else, go ahead and do it. It's
Yeah,
more fun to try it than to just think about it forever. Say something.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Love those thoughts. Any other tips, tricks, thoughts you want to add on to that?
So that's good. I don't know. I say a lot of things.
I know.
I
You're always
think
so good, full of good advice. Full of good
I
advice. I can't
always
speak today. My
I
goodness.
always have things to say.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially about this subject. That's my
Yes.
go-to for sure. You ask me about cars, I probably don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
You want to talk about sexual health? I'm in all the way. I'll
Yep.
talk for hours.
Yeah.
I think partners need to make it a priority in their relationship. So over half the reason that relationships end is related to sex-related issues. That's a huge number. And it could be one partner's never in the mood and the other one always is. It could be one's not feeling desired and the other one is. There's a lot of different things for it. A great challenge is to commit time. It's better to schedule sex than not have sex at all. So if you have to pick a day of the week to have sex because you realize, shoot, we haven't had sex in like 2 months. Well, then you have a roommate. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer on that. If you're both asexual and you're in a relationship where you're not interested in sex, that's perfectly normal and healthy. But if one or both partners is interested in sex and sexual intimacy, you got to make it a priority so that both of you are feeling desired, so that both of you are having that physical intimacy with each other. So put it on the calendar if you have to, but do it. And even once or twice a week. It doesn't have to be every day. Don't put it out there like it's a huge thing. And you have to tell your partner your outside the bedroom turn-ons. I think this is a big thing missed in relationships.
Yeah.
What turns you on outside the bedroom? Because if you are frustrated with your partner all day long, you can't just go into the bedroom and be physically intimate.
Right.
So I want you to tell them what turns you on. Them doing laundry and takes it off your plate, that's chore play. That's taking something off of your plate so you're not stressed out about it later. Dishes, that's chore play. Maybe taking the kids somewhere, maybe tucking the kids into bed, maybe bath time is so frustrating. So your partner does it and takes it off your list. Tell your partner what turns you on that isn't a bedroom activity, because the way you feel about your partner in your kitchen and your living room carries over into your bedroom. So you need to have that open conversation with each other. I find for a lot of women, they're frustrated because they don't feel like they're getting a lot of help from male partners. So if you're open about what you need help with, it takes the stress off of you. If I'm like, I just can't cook dinner tonight, I have too many things on the plate, it's just not going to happen. My husband's like, okay, do you want me to make something? Do you want me to pick something up? You gotta help your partner out so that when you get to the bedroom, it's not just like a, hey, now you're expected to perform, even if you're frustrated with your partner. So keeping the lines of communication open well before you ever hit the bedroom makes a huge difference. But I think even just listening to this, realizing what an impact sex has on your mental health. So if you feel like you're always stressed, if you feel like you always have anxiety, how much are you having sex? How many orgasms are you having? Are you masturbating? If you find you're never in the mood, a great tool is to start masturbating. Your body starts to crave sex if you're having sex. So if you're never doing it ever, your body's not really in the mood anymore. You might have to kickstart yourself to help you get in the mood to be physically intimate with your partner. But there's lots of things out there that can help with that. Enhancement creams, lubricants, massage products that can help get things rolling. And then once the ball is rolling, obviously your brain starts to catch up. Your body starts to get in the mood and you're like, oh, I do like oh, that does feel fantastic. I do love this activity. I remember why I like doing this so much.
Right.
But for women, it's a good lead time. It's a good 10 minutes of foreplay before a lot of women are even in the mood to have sex. So a
Interesting.
lot has to happen to get the brain going
Yep.
so that you can enjoy the process or you at least have a shot of reaching orgasm. So
Right.
make sure you give yourself some time. A 5 minute quickie, most women will not be finished. Most women will not reach the big O in 5 minutes of sex. You're going to need a lot longer than that. So make sure you schedule that time appropriately. Like
Mhm.
I said, if Friday night's the night, make it the night. Even if it starts to feel awkward at the beginning, it can be something that you can look forward to. Try
Mhm.
to find time where you can get a sitter so that if you have kids, then they're not around. Obviously, that helps. If you have young kids at home, give yourself some leeway. It's
Mhm.
exhausting when your kids are
Mhm.
little. So
Mhm.
sex tends to become a backseat, but I still want you to make time for it. I want you to find time to work it in because your mental health will thank you for it. You'll be less stressed,
Absolutely.
you'll be less anxious, you'll sleep better, you'll have less headaches, you'll just be in a happier mood all the way around. So make
Mhm.
time for it and know that it directly ties back into your wellness, physically, mentally, brain health. It all ties together. It's one
Mhm.
big package.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. I love that. And I love that term chore play. Gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Very, very good. All right. So you do a lot of parties. So what are you up to these days? What kind of things do you want to tell our listeners? What are you working on?
So I do online stuff, I do in-person stuff, and I do events. I kind of do a variety of everything. My favorite is the in-home party. I love to throw a party. It's women only, and it's a great break from men and kids in your life. And we laugh and we learn and we have a great time, and everyone leaves with a bunch of goodies. So I love throwing in-home parties. I do one-on-one consultations. Sometimes someone just wants to have a one-on-one phone call or just one-on-one in person. And even with couples, I can sit down with a couple and just have a one-on-one consultation with them.
Cool.
I know I had met a couple years ago at a party. I had met someone's wife of someone I went to high school with. It was a very unique last name. And I was like, oh, hey, I think I know do you know this person? She's like, that's my husband. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like full circle, right? And I
Yep.
sat down and had like an hour-long consultation with them. And we talked about all the things. And it was a fantastic conversation, super
Very
open.
cool.
And we were able to talk about all of it. But I'm comfortable talking about it. So hopefully that opens the door for other people to feel comfortable asking me questions.
Yeah.
Online, of course, it's the way of the world these days. Everything's online. So I have a
Mhm.
huge group on Facebook, a Pure Romance by Laurel Facebook group, of course, that is women only. So it can be a safe, open conversation in there that is a ton of fun. Lots of fun, interactives, giveaways, obviously products, etc. I do lives. So different topics at different times. One time we might be talking about our wellness line, which we have an entire wellness line. Maybe next week we're talking about lubrication. Maybe the week after we're talking about massage. But different things to reach more people,
Mhm.
especially when people are out of state. If they don't live here, I can't have an in-person consultation or an
Yeah.
in-person party.
Yep.
Best way to find me is Facebook. I love Facebook. I unofficially work for Facebook. I wish they would pay me though. That'd be
I
great.
know, right?
But that is my favorite form. Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, a
Yeah.
little paycheck every week from
Heck yeah.
Facebook.
Heck yeah.
I love communicating via Facebook Messenger with people, answering any questions someone might have. And I get a lot of messages that start with, this might be awkward, but, or this might be too much information, but, and everything's normal. Whatever you're going to ask
Yeah.
me, I have probably heard it before, and I want you to ask.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you feel weird about it. I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, here's some suggestions for you.
Yeah.
Even if it's stuff that I can't provide you. There's things that I don't carry, that I don't sell, but I'll still give you a recommendation to help with those areas because we don't cover
Cool.
everything ever made.
Mhm.
We have a lot of product available, but I can't hit every single category that exists. But I will absolutely help you find resources for things that you might need that might be outside of what I carry. But I prefer an in-person method of
Mhm.
communicating with people because I'm an in-person person for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
But online is definitely a great second bet. Thanks to COVID, it kind of sped up the whole online world. We all kind of
Mhm.
exist in a hybrid world now, in person and
Yep.
half online, half in person.
Yep.
So I think that's how we'll be going forward forever. So reaching out to me on Facebook, best way to get a hold of me. Of course, I have a phone number. Of course, I have an email, but I
Yeah.
really spend most of my time on Facebook. So that's usually where you'll find me. I don't know. I haven't started
Yeah.
a TikTok yet. Some people have. I'm not there yet with TikTok,
I have it
but
downloaded on my phone, but I don't know what to do with it from there. So
I'm entertained watching it. I
yeah.
just haven't created anything yet. But Instagram, Facebook, email, cell phone, all of the above. Oh, and then
Awesome.
events. I do vendor fairs a couple a year.
Mhm.
So coming up, I have one at Northtown Mall, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So vendors can set up tables, in that open
Oh
area
yeah.
in the mall, and people can come approach you, talk to you. I try to do one a quarter all year long to meet new people because
Yeah.
I always want to be expanding who I have contact with,
Yep.
keep expanding that list. I love talking to the other vendors, but I love people coming up to the table and just asking questions. And they might just take my card for later. They
Mhm.
might want to buy stuff on the spot. They might want to set up a party.
Mhm.
Maybe they just want to be added to my email list for
Mhm.
later down the line. But now that most of the world has gone back to a lot of in-person events, I'm happy to be going back to in-person vendor events because it
Mhm.
expands the network. But I reach a lot of people that I don't know
Mhm.
that way. At parties, I'm meeting a friend of a friend.
Mhm.
Online, a friend is introducing me to a friend.
Right.
And in person, it's completely random. Like I just
Yeah.
don't know who's gonna walk up to my table, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Right. Right. And you definitely are a people person. I said at the beginning, you've got an energy that just can't be beat. So yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. I was going to ask a question. Now I totally drew a blank, but I love how you kind of tied everything back together. And I've always felt really open at asking you questions because you are so open to answer them. So I totally appreciate that just open conversation there too. And I wish everybody could have that because it is so important to ask these questions. It does. It affects our brain. How well we feel emotionally, sexually, all of it affects our brain health. So thank
Correct.
you.
It's very tied
Gosh.
together. It's tied to your relationship. It's tied to
Yeah.
your mood. It's all one big thing. And you
Hmm.
said you wish everyone could have that. They do. They have me now. They have a
Yeah.
contact that they can just openly ask questions to anytime you want to. And you don't
Absolutely.
have to buy something to ask me a question. You could
That's
just reach out to me to say, hey, I have a question about sexual health. Hey, I have a question about libido. Hey,
right.
I have a question about, falling asleep. I can't fall asleep at night. Do you think having orgasms will help? Of course, I'm going to say yes.
Mhm.
But it doesn't have to be because you're buying something to ask me a question. If you
Yeah.
just have a question, I would love to answer the question without you buying anything from me ever or without you setting up a party. I think it's important for people to remember you don't have to attend a party to get fun products. You can just reach out at any time and say, hey, I think I need some lubrication. Hey, I'm not feeling in the mood. Hey, my partner's not feeling in the mood. There's a big
Mhm.
increase in men with low libido these days.
Mhm.
And it's stress related,
Mhm.
job related, and financially related. The reasons women aren't in the mood are very different than the reasons men aren't in the mood. So there's a lot of things that are out there that can help if you ask the question, if you open the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about that. The reasons for not being in the mood are different.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. I thought of my question. So you don't have to share the actual question, but has anybody ever stumped you and said, hey, I have a question you probably haven't heard before? Have you actually gotten one that you haven't heard before?
Yes. Yes. Somebody asked me something, it was a couple months ago via Facebook Messenger. And I was like,
Yeah,
huh, I don't,
that's a
no one's
new
ever
one.
asked me that question before. I don't think I have an answer. I'm like, let me research and get back to you. I literally went to our board of directors page and I'm like, who has some recommendations for this? Because it was just a topic I didn't know. We don't
Yeah,
carry anything that fits that answer. So I was
sure.
like, I need help. Who? And of course, other women have different experiences in their life
Yeah.
or have different interests. So they've explored different things.
Yep.
So they were able to give me some resources that I could turn around and provide them because I was like, I've just never been asked that in 13 years. No one's ever asked me that question. So yeah, it might not
Perfect.
be appropriate to share on a podcast. So
Yeah.
if you want to know, you can
I kind
message
of
me.
assumed it might not be. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I love this conversation, Laurel. I could probably talk to you all day long. Any last things you want to share with us? Because I do want to be respectful of your time today too.
Of course, of course. I just think make sexual health a priority for yourself on your own, your partner, and both. Even if you have a partner, that doesn't mean you can't masturbate. So you have options, whether you're with a partner or not with a partner, but make your sexual health a priority. Even just going to read one article online about how sexual health ties to your mental health, you're going to be
Mhm.
like, oh, maybe
Mhm.
it's way more important than I thought it was.
Mhm.
Maybe I should put in more of a priority on this. And for a lot of women, just get the process started. Your brain will catch up with you. I promise it will catch up with you. You got to get the ball rolling. Once you're 10 minutes into it, you never regret doing it. Okay, most of the time you don't regret doing it. But you got to get the ball rolling, and that's okay. So there's lots of things we can help you with, whether it's we have something to turn your brain on and something to turn your body on. One or the other allows the other one to catch up, or both at the same time, and you just might be unavailable for a couple hours. So
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. There's a reason I wanted this as a topic on the podcast, because it is super important. So thank you so much for sharing all your insight today. And I will
absolutely.
definitely,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, I'll post your contact information on the podcast so that if anybody has questions, they can reach out to you. And again, thanks for being here today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye for now.